Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Are You Smarter Than a 5-Year-Old? Is America or are Americans smarter than a 5-year-old? So let's talk about this spending bill debacle with Elon Musk and Donald Trump and the Republican Party. So if I were a billionaire and I operated like probably how most people do, which is you kind of have this kinship with your peers or your social circle. So for example, poor generally advocate for the poor, right? Middle class advocate for the middle class, and the 1% advocate for the 1%, right? So that being the case, assuming I'm not some kind of philanthropist or something, I'm not some kind of Jesus, if I'm just a typical billionaire and I wanted to loot the government for the benefit of my group, which is the billionaire class, the way that I would do it is I would start with, and it's this core strategy of propaganda, it's nothing special that I'm saying here. I would start with pointing out something that is true and legitimate. Government does have a problem with waste, right? You can look at the Pentagon and failing the audits. You can look at all kinds of things where, there's wasteful spending, right? I would start with that and use that as a decoy, right? It doesn't have to be anything in particular. Just find something where it's like, oh, look at this. First of all, I would realize the average American is not even smart enough to really understand or comprehend the types of money you're talking about when you talk about the entire budget of the country, right? So being that they don't have a full understanding of those kind of numbers in the trillions, that means I can easily distract them with, numbers that sound big to them. Like it's $1 million here and $2 million there. They don't even recognize, most people, that the amount of money I might be pointing out could be like pennies, right? So completely irrelevant. You could reduce spending by 5 times the amount that I'm looking at and it wouldn't have much of an impact at all. But the average American is not going to realize that. $2 million is a lot of money to most Americans. So they're going to be like, yeah, let's cut that, yeah. And I just keep talking about it and, hey, this is wasteful and we got to clean it up. Right? Now, the reason I would do that is because, again, that would be a decoy, right? So that when I actually go in and I start, setting up the wealth transfer from the poor to my class, which is the 1%, they won't notice, right? I can hide behind this idea that a lot of people have that I'm cutting spending and I'm cutting out all the pork and whatever, right? So whenever people say, try to accuse me of like, hey, you're just hooking things up for your buddy and tax breaks for the rich, a bunch of morons will defend me and say, what are you talking about? Do you know that in the first week of the Trump administration, they already cut a total of $5 million. And do you know what that money was going to? Your tax dollars? It was going to woke policies and blah, right? So a bunch of dummies will be focused on the little $2 million, $5 million that I'm cutting from whatever. And it's the $1 billion or much more of money that I will pass from their tax dollars to my companies. If I'm a billionaire, I probably have some company that could benefit from some kind of government subsidies and also via tax breaks, right? So what I would do if I were a typical billionaire is I would find the money to benefit my class, the 1%, by taking away from the poor and middle class, all the while making them think that I'm actually helping them out. I'm balancing the budget, we gotta trim the fat. Why do you think everything is so expensive? It's because of all these woke policies. Your tax dollars going to these woke policies. That's money that should be in your pocket so you could spend for your family and, pretend like I really care about that stuff. But in reality, as a billionaire, the kind of person I would have to be to get to be a billionaire in the first place. I mean, considering how competitive it is and that's a gargantuan thing to accomplish. So typically it's not going to just be that you're just that smart or you just have that, business savvy. There's going to be a little bit or a lot level of cutthroat savagery that would have got you to that point. You'd have probably screwed over a lot of people. You've probably done a lot of dishonest things along the way to get to a billionaire. So if you're that type of person, right, that's the kind of person that would get to be a billionaire in the first place, typically. Again, right, just considering, because if you're not that kind of person, right, how are you going to be a billionaire? Because the next guy will do those things, right? If you're not willing to be a savage and just burn every bridge and betray everybody and just lie and steal and whatever, if you're not willing to do that, how are you going to be a billionaire, right? Your competitor, they're going to do it, right? It's a dog-eat-dog world, man. So that means odds are extremely high that any billionaire is a major savage, a very dishonest savage. And that being the case, that's how I would operate. If I were that person, that is how I would operate. I would take money from the poor, pass it to my buddies, and hide under, I'm cutting the fat, I'm trimming the fat, this is government waste. You know what I mean? And this would be interesting if I was already getting money from the poor through government subsidy before actually having an opportunity to operate from within the government, right? If I were doing it just using my wallet, right? Able to buy off politicians and pay them off. Imagine what would happen as a billionaire if they put you, the fox, in the hen house. That'll make it so much easier to just take money from the poor, right? Make yourself so much more rich, right? And then while the poor is suffering and you're taking from them, I could see myself as that person sitting there celebrating about how America's getting much better now and we're trimming the fat and things are looking great. And it's genuine. I'm excited because I am making so much money. My friends are making so much money. I'm gaining so much power because all the people that I'm getting tax cuts for, I have them in my pocket. I can get all kinds of favors. There's so many opportunities being opened up. So yeah, it's great for me, but not for the American people. But will they realize this? Or will they be distracted by the noise that I'll put out there to hide what I'm actually doing? Would you be smart enough to pick up on this kind of tactic? Would you recognize that someone is taking a valid issue and using it as cover? So it's kind of like, it's like a magician's trick, right? I want you to focus over here. I got the colorful handkerchief over here. I'm flapping it around, just like bait, Will you be smart enough to not focus on what I, the billionaire, want you to focus on, right? Look at what I'm saying all the time. We're doing this, I gotta cut the fat. Would you fall for that? Would you look at the other hand, right? While the billionaire is constantly focused on one thing, would you be looking on the back end, like looking at what's up, what's going on with the other hand? Why is that hand in that weird position? What's that bulge in the pocket, right? So, do you really believe in billionaires, who lived a life focused on themselves and their social circles, all of a sudden now are fighting for you? Would you fall for that, or would you recognize the hustle when you see it? Grant Cardone, Ty Lopez, and many others. This is the Debate Me channel. Debate me in the comment section below. Click on the like button, subscribe, smash that bell. Be well. Are Americans smarter than a 5-year-old? That is the question.